Hi, Wildcat scientists. Welcome back to my basement classroom. I've got a sick kid, so I'm going to teach you how to name and write formulas for covalent molecules from here. So when I come back next week on Tuesday, I'll tell you a little bit more about their properties and reasons why these nonmetals come together and bond, because it's a little bit different from ionic substances. But in terms of naming and writing formulas, incredibly easy compared to the ionic stuff. Remember, with ionic compounds, you had to keep track of what's the metal, what's the nonmetal, what's the ending? Is it "-ide"? Is it from the periodic table? Is it a polyatomic ion? Do I have to have a Roman numeral? What the heck is a transition metal anyway? And what are the two that are added? And what are the two that are always exceptions and don't have Roman numerals? And what are their charges again? You don't have to do any of that. None of this balancing positives and negatives. And we'll get into more about why when I see you again on Tuesday. But to get into actually naming and writing the formulas, all you have to do is be able to count to 10. So I'm going to write down 10 things on my board. These are what we call our prefixes. Prefixes are things that come in the front of words that change them. And these are prefixes that stand for numbers. So here are the prefixes that we use for numbers 1 through 10. You're going to use these every time we deal with covalent compounds, so write this list down for yourself. The prefix for 1 is mono. Like mono e mono, 1 to 1, right? Or when you get mono, you're not supposed to be around anybody else. Easy way to remember that one. 2 is a little bit different. 2 is not bi, like bicycle with 2 wheels. We use one called di. And you've heard that one before. We've talked about the diatomic elements, the ones that are insecure and have to be 2 stuck together. 3 is tri, like a triangle has 3 sides. 4 is the one that trips people up. It's not quad. It's tetra. And fun fact, if you've ever played Tetris, the reason why it's called Tetris is because each piece is only made with 4 blocks. That kind of blew my mind when I figured that out. 5 is penta, like a pentagon has 5 sides. 6 is hexa, hexagon, 6 sides. 7, usually I get septa. It's actually hepta with an H. Don't know why, it just is. 8 is octa, as in an octagon, 8 sides. 9 is nona, nonagon, 9 sides. 10 is deca. Decade, 10 years, decagon, 10 sides. Okay? These are the prefixes for 1 through 10. Now you have no way of knowing how many of each nonmetal are going to bond together. Now remember, when we're talking about nonmetals, that's stuff from the right side of the periodic table plus hydrogen. Hydrogen gets to hang out on the metal side because it's only got 1 electron, so it has 1 valence electron, like those alkali metals do in that column. Families stay together. So with these nonmetals, you can get all different kinds of variations based on how they work their electrons. And again, we'll talk more about that on Tuesday. So there's no way for you to know how many things are going to bond unless somebody tells you. And the way we tell you with a name is by using these prefixes. The way we tell you with a formula, like the shorthand version, is by using the subscripts. They tell you how many of each element are bonding. Here are the rules when you're writing the name for a compound. Here's an example, CO2. You're breathing it out right now, so am I. We know that this formal name for this is called carbon dioxide. You'll notice that there's no prefix on the first element, and that's because there's only one. How do you know there's one? There's no number there. We've talked about that before. The prefix on oxygen is di, and that's because there's a 2 there. So we call it carbon dioxide. Here's another example. Now, if you want to use this one to sound smart, you can really scare somebody when you're just talking about water. H2O. We call that water, but if we're going to name it using our prefixes, there's 2 hydrogens. So I would use the prefix di in front of the word hydrogen. Now the rules with naming covalent compounds is the same. We only change the ending of the second element. We leave the first one alone. So the first part of this name is dihydrogen. Again, we picked di because the number of hydrogens is 2. Now the second element, no matter how many there are, always has to have a prefix. There's only one oxygen. You know that because there's no number, so we're going to use the prefix for 1, which is mono. So this is called dihydrogen monoxide. That's the scary name for water. Now you'll notice I didn't write 2 double O's. Usually the rule is if you see more than one vowel and it looks like a hot mess, get rid of one of them, whichever looks right. Okay. Now, if I saw monoxide, I'm not going to count you wrong for having an extra O. All right. But when you see double O's, those usually get dropped off. Sometimes the only time I see a double vowel is with iodine, like diiodide or triiodide, because the prefix doesn't want to blend in with the element. But most of them you will drop the double vowel. Don't know why, you just do. So rules when we're writing names for these things. The first element, you use a prefix if there's more than 1. There has to be more than 1 of the first element if you're going to put a prefix on it. That's why we didn't do anything to carbon in carbon dioxide. But we did have to put a prefix there when there were 2 hydrogen to make it dihydrogen. So this first element only needs a prefix if there's more than 1. The second element, and I'm out of room, you always add a prefix to the beginning. Always, no matter what. So notice when there were 2 oxygens, it was dioxide. When there was only 1 oxygen, it was monoxide. That second element always has to have a prefix. And then the last thing is you change the ending to "ide." So no polyatomics here. Everything is going to end in IDE. These are binary covalent molecules, so only 2 elements on the non-metal side. When you're playing the Go Fish for the Element game, this should be really easy because everything, except for hydrogen, has to be on the right side of the stairs. Now remember, 80% of the elements are metals anyway, so that really reduces the amount of space that you have to look to find these things. And you guys are masters of the periodic table now anyway, so you know where all that stuff is. So going from a formula to a name, you follow these rules. Going from a name from a name to a formula is super easy because all you have to do is read the prefixes. So I'm going to make up this one. Sulfur trioxide. Now I apologize for not doing ones off your homework. I don't have a printed copy with me. My key is at school. By the way, the key is on the front table and it's not in the book. I haven't put it in the book yet. It's like if you're sitting at my desk, like the little desk, it's over to the left, like right on the edge of the demo table. It's written in green. Whoever my sub is, if they can't find it, feel free to look around on that front table. It should be like right there. So feel free to check your work on your homework since I'm not giving you any of those problems. Okay, so sulfur trioxide. If we're going to do this, we just have to figure out what the symbols are. You know the symbol for sulfur is S. How many of them are there? There's only 1. How do you know? There's no prefix. Done with that part. Trioxide, that's oxygen. You know oxygen is O. The prefix on it is tri, so that means there are 3 oxygens. So your formula is SO3. No tricks, no weirdness, just prefixes, 1 through 10. Here's one. This is a mouthful. You'll notice that these are just a whole lot of words. So this is diphosphorus pentasulfide. Diphosphorus pentasulfide. So we have to find the element. Diphosphorus is going to be phosphorus, which is P. There is a prefix on it, and the prefix on it is di, so that means there are 2 phosphorus. Pentasulfide, sulfide is sulfur, which is S. We've already done that one. The prefix on their penta is 5, so that means there are 5 sulfurs. So your formula is P2S5. Easy peasy. You guys got this. Hit me up via email if you have questions. Again, we'll spend more time on Tuesday talking about the properties of these covalent molecules and why they form in the first place, and how we have no idea to tell what's going to bond with what. So thank you for watching. Complete homework 6.2, upload that on Canvas when you're done. And like I said, hit me up via email with questions. Thanks, guys.